So just to make sure we're all on the same page about endowments, I think most of you are familiar with the idea, but if someone wanted to give money to an organization like this university, they can give a one-time gift. So that would be spent to help build a building or offset operating costs or whatever it might be. Or they can give an endowed gift. And the key with an endowment is it's supposed to last forever, in perpetuity, as they say. And what you do is, we'll get more into details, but the earnings from the gift, say someone gives $100 a university, we don't spend that $100. We spend the earnings from the $100. We keep the body of the gift intact and it lasts forever. And so you might endow a chair in the history department. You might want to pay for scholarships. And so by giving this gift, supporters of the school can have that gift last forever. Now, one of the key issues is what is that endowed gift for? And what we find is almost all the gifts today are what we call restricted gifts. So therefore, a particular purpose. So someone who's a supporter of the school, maybe they went here, maybe they live in the community, they say, well, I want to give a gift to support scholarships for juniors who are studying economics. And that's what their gift is for. Or they want to support a chair, again, in the math department or the history department. And we have to account for those individual gifts. So we invest the endowment as if it's one fund, like the UCSD fund is a little over $300 million today. But it's hundreds of individual gifts that need to be accounted for separately because that money is dedicated to, again, that particular purpose. Well, then we invest as one, and we'll talk a bit about how we're investing those monies. But one of the key things we have to think about with an endowment is being fair from generation to generation. So if we overspend that endowment today, spend too much of the endowment, then there's less available 20 years from now, 40 years from now, 100 years from now. So we're unfairly benefiting, say, you folks in this room, to the detriment that people will be sitting here 20 years from now. And same thing vice versa. If we're not spending enough of the earnings from that endowed gift, you're not getting your fair share, and somebody 50 years from now is going to get an extra benefit because that endowment has grown to a bigger level. So we'll talk more about some of these details. The other thing we spend our time doing, really the most important thing we do, is investing these funds. And the key decision there is not which bond manager we pick, and we have to do that. But what's more important is what's the asset allocation. How much of the portfolio is going into different asset classes. I'll show you a picture in a few minutes of where we're invested today. But one of the concepts for some of you who've maybe taken some finance courses is efficient frontier. Is that something most of you are familiar with? But the idea is we can, with all these different opportunity sets for investing, let's say we're going to do just stocks and bonds. So it might be 10% stocks, 90% bonds, and vice versa. And you're going to end up being in all these different areas based on the return of that investment, expected return, the expected risk of that investment, as well as how those investments are correlated. So we look at the covariance of the returns from those different investments, and we can come up with, put them in a computer, and it spits out, well, there's going to be a sufficient frontier based on expected return and portfolio risk. So what you wouldn't want to do is be, say, at this point, because you're getting no return and a lot of risk, whereas you go up here, have the same risk, and obviously get a lot more return. So it's pretty basic. And so we go through this, we calculate our efficient frontier, put all these, again, the numbers, the return, the standard deviations, the correlations, and it magically spits out this efficient frontier. And so then we can then decide where we want to be on this frontier based on the risk we're willing to take and the return that we're trying to get. Okay?